Okay, Sunday, 2nd of June, 2024. So, why gold isn't intergenerational wealth, but Bitcoin is? Now, this is something I've been thinking about a little bit gently here and there, and it's worth doing a video about, naturally, that gold is not intergenerational wealth, it's store of value for the long term, because some interesting first principles. Market dynamics, market forces, and the emission rate, or the amount of gold that's mined or comes into existence every year. So, the amount of gold that's mined that comes into existence every year is, I can't remember the numbers, 1%, 2% every or 3% every year or so. That means the supply of total gold in the world increases by that percentage, which means it has a half-life, I want to say 35 odd years, something in that vicinity. If you do 35 years. The rule of 72 divided by the 2%, 3%, 1% vicinity. 35, 16 to 70 odd years. The purchasing power is cut in half because the supply is being diluted, meaning more gold is coming into existence. Now, what does that mean? Okay, it means that exactly. There's more available, therefore the unit value becomes, the individual pieces become worth less. Now, market forces, because also it's worth understanding that higher prices are a remedy for higher prices. Economics. Now, I want to say this is Austrian economics. I can't remember exactly. But when the price of something goes up in the market, or things for sale, when the price goes up, whatever it is, that's a signal for entrepreneurs, for businesses, for whoever else, make more of this. People want it, the demand is high, therefore the price is high, people are buying this, make more of this. Now, as more businesses and entrepreneurs build businesses that sell and create just this product, it lowers the price, more competition, more choices, and the supply chains, logistics, the manufacturing process, the distribution process, the logistics becomes much more efficient, streamlined, refined, improved, you name it. It becomes easier and easier for products to get to market, and there's more available, so the price gets cheaper and cheaper. It becomes easier as well, so cheaper and cheaper. But the key thing here is, as the price goes up, so does the supply. So supply follows demand. And then over time, what's interesting, and I think this will be something to do with the commodity super cycle, is that there'll be booms and busts where over time the supply will be too much for the demand, and so sometimes then business would have to rescale and whatever else to maintain the supply and demand over time, the cycles. Now, here's the kicker, as the price of gold goes up, so does the supply, meaning that miners and businesses are more incentivized to mine or to create more gold and bring it to market. That means then that the inflation rate, the half-life of gold, could be even shorter. Because imagine if the inflation rate was 100% like that and the world supply of gold was instantly doubled. What's that going to do to your purchasing power? You tell me. Comment below, you know what to do. Now, we look at that and those first principles compared to Bitcoin, and we see that no matter how high the price, and the first principle here, no matter how high the price of Bitcoin goes, the emission rate stays the same. The difficulty adjustment, the halving, the mining, the block reward stays the same every 10 or so minutes. No matter how high the price goes, the demand, the supply stays the same. In fact, opposite, it goes down, halvening, and it becomes exponentially harder and harder to mine, difficulty adjustment. So it becomes rarer and rarer. So they could say then the half-life is the opposite. Dare I say, it's infinite, because it's the opposite. It gets scarcer and scarcer, halvening, and no matter how high the price goes, the demand, the emission rate stays the same. Interesting. Which means that over the long term, that Bitcoin could indeed be a better store of wealth, a better intergenerational store of wealth over the long term than gold. That logic is quite sound. Makes sense, because then if you look at things priced in Bitcoin, things get cheaper and cheaper. The price of books, cars, houses, computers, you name it, clothes, when valued in Satoshis, or fractions of a Bitcoin, 100 millionth of a Bitcoin, things get cheaper and cheaper. So it's the opposite. So there's no decay of purchasing power over time. It's actually the opposite. It makes sense, because if you look when in doubt, zoom out. You look at the price of anything valued in Bitcoin in 2010 versus 2024. One Bitcoin buys you more and more things. The key word there is more and more. Interesting. So it's the opposite. There's no decay. It's the opposite. I'm not sure what the word for that will be, if anything. What's the opposite of decay? What's the opposite of rust? Improvement. What's the opposite of entropy? I knew the word, but I forgot it. But yeah, the logic is there, and we see it in the charts. Now, that's 15 years. Let's wait 5 more years, so 20. Let's wait 30 years. The question then is, as the charts and the patterns become increasingly clearer, and you could argue about this, so does the opportunity behind it. The risk gets reduced, but so does opportunity behind it. Imagine buying Bitcoin 2010 versus 2020 versus 2025. There's different kinds of risk and awareness and understanding behind it. There's more thought leaders, there's more clarity, there's more content, more educational content, more general understanding. Fair enough, that's just the way technology is and opportunities. But that's an interesting little side topic nonetheless. So it seems then, when you follow the logic, halvening, difficulty adjustment, and the emission rate over time, Bitcoin gets scarcer and scarcer. And no matter how high this is the key thing, no matter how high the price goes, the emission rate stays the same, the supply. So what does that mean for the future? What does that mean for the price of Bitcoin or your purchasing power over the next 15, 30, 45, 100 years? 3-4 generations from now, what does that mean for them? That's quite profound. But that's a long-term way of thinking about it. But nonetheless, the maths is there. The principles are there. The economic principles are right there. The logic is there. But either way, you will see me tomorrow.